Hello, welcome to Right Sports Talk. My name is Zach. Um, we've gotten to the end of July. The New England Patriots have finished their first week of training camp. They've started having padded practices, and since we are getting closer to the start of the preseason, I just wanted to sit down and talk about some of the reasons that I am excited for this 2024 New England Patriots season. To get into it, first off, I'm excited to see their new coaching staff. I'm sure everybody knows that after 24 years as head coach, uh, Bill Belichick was let go as the head coach of the New England Patriots back in January, and Gerard Mayo was promoted to head coach. He's been their linebackers coach in the past. He's kind of assistant defensive coordinator, assistant head coach for them during his time there. He's also a former player for the New England Patriots, so he's kind of molded in that Belichick system of coaching. I'm excited to see how he differs from Bill Belichick as a head coach. They also brought in new coordinators. They hired Alex Van Pelt as their offense coordinator from the Cleveland. He spent the past few seasons with the Cleveland Browns. So I'm excited to see how he differs from kind of the Josh McDaniels, Bill O'Brien type of offensive coordinator that they've had most of the time Bill Belichick was in New England. And then finally they hired DeMarcus Covington as their defensive coordinator. He was formerly their defensive line coach. He's the first true titled defensive coordinator they've had since Matt Patricia left after the 2017 season. So pretty much since Matt Patricia left after the 2017 season, you had kind of, as I said, Gerard Mayo being the linebackers coach / kind of helping with defensive coordinator duties. You had Steve Belichick working as the secondary coach and helping with defensive coordinator duties, and you kind of had Bill Belichick, along with being the head coach, was helping to call defensive plays and focusing on helping the defense. So I'm very excited to see how these new coaches work in their roles, how the defense looks under DeMarcus Covington, a first-time defensive coordinator that has spent time in the system as their defensive line coach since 2020. Now, on the topic of defense, I am excited to see what their defense looks like healthy. So they had linebacker Matthew Judon and cornerback Christian Gonzalez both suffered season-ending injuries last year. Matthew Judon was their leader in sacks when he was healthy a couple of years ago. He's still very good at getting to the quarterback. I'm excited to see what he can do in this system back being healthy. And Chris Gonzalez was their first-round draft pick last season, who he only played for 1 month before suffering his, I believe it was a shoulder injury. But in that time span, he had to cover guys like A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill, good number one receivers, and he did a very good job of shutting them down and was actually he was either the AFC or the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Month for the first month of the season before he got injured. I'm very excited to see how he does coming off of his injury and back in the system as their number one corner. Also on defense, I'm excited to see how their defensive end Keon White does going into his second year. White was a second-round pick for them last season. He showed some good flashes in the playing time that he had last year. Some pretty decent stats for a rookie. He had 26 tackles, 3 for a loss, and he did only muster 1 sack. But he had a couple of pretty good games. He had a good game getting hurries on Jalen Hurts in week 1 of the season. And he had a pretty good game of pressuring Josh Allen when they played the Bills. So I'm very hopeful and excited to see what he can do and kind of build off of that, going into his second season. So that's kind of what I'm excited for to see on defense. Is, hopefully everybody healthy. Stars on defense can stay healthy and see what they can do, and their young players, primarily Keon White, kind of take that next step up and see how they work in this defense. Now, the thing that I'm most excited for is this new look offense for the Patriots. As I said, they hired Alex Van Pelt from the Cleveland Browns as their offensive coordinator. So I'm very curious to see how his offense is run differently from how Josh McDaniels and Bill O'Brien ran it in the past. And they made some additions to this offense, brought in some guys that I think can be key players. First off, in free agency, they added Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, and they also drafted quarterback Drake May with the 3rd overall pick this season. So Jacoby Brissett has experience in Alex Van Pelt's offensive system. He played for him in Cleveland a couple years ago and started 11 games in that system while Deshaun Watson was serving in suspension. So he knows the system, he's played in it, and he's looked very good so far in training camp and in the off season. He's kind of looked the best of the quarterbacks, but that's kind of to be expected, as he is the quarterback with the most experience on this team. But I'm also very excited to see how Drake May does. He is a rookie. He is very raw. He's got a lot of arm talent, but he has some footwork issues that he needs to work on. If he can figure stuff out and the pieces around him are good, I'm very excited to see what Drake May can do in this offense and what he can do leading this Patriots team. If he doesn't start off the season as a starter, then maybe later on in the season, if he's put in as a starting quarterback, I'm excited to see what he can do. The team also drafted 2 wide receivers in this draft, with wide receiver Jalen Polk out of Washington in the 2nd round and wide receiver Javon Baker out of UCF in the 4th round. Jalen Polk, I kind of talked about him a little bit in my Patriots draft video. I actually kind of talked about both these guys in my Patriots draft reaction video. Jalen Polk is more of kind of an inside guy, but very good at catching the ball. He always finds ways to get open and make tough catches, which is always nice to see. And Javon Baker is more of the true outside receiver. He's one of the only true outside receivers the Patriots really have on their roster. So they could kind of, if he picks up the system well enough, could plug him in day one as that kind of, outside. I don't want to say number 1 receiver, but that outside guy that will have a big long corner on him, and I think he could perform very well. And to go along with that, they'll be pairing them with receivers I'm very excited to see continue in this offense. First one is a second-year receiver, Mario Douglas, who actually wound up leading the team in receiving yards last season. He had about 560 yards last season, which isn't great, but for the Patriots, who had one of the worst offenses in the league last year, it was pretty good. So Mario Douglas wound up leading the team receiving because their receiver who was leading them, Kendrick Bourne, wound up going down with an injury 8 games into the season. So he's coming back off of a knee injury, so I'm excited to see how Kendrick Bourne does if he comes back healthy. He was playing well in those 8 games. He had 400 receiving yards before he got injured and was kind of looking like the top option in this offense. So I'm excited to see if that continues going into this year, if he can come back healthy. And finally, they're going to be getting running back Ramondre Stevenson back from injury as well. He got injured later in the year in December with an ankle injury. I'm very excited to see how he can come back. He's probably going to be a feature part in this offense. They also went out and got Antonio Gibson in free agency, who is a very similar size-wise style to Ramondre Stevenson. I think both the running backs can kind of carry the load for this team. I know it looks like Ramondre obviously will be the starter and the number one guy. I think if they give him adequate carries and touches throughout the game, he can really be a difference maker on this offense and kind of be the focal point of this offense. So that's kind of what I'm most excited for the Patriots going into this year. Anything you guys are excited for the Patriots going into this season, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe. Until next time.